Welcome back to Slam Shenanigans. As you can see, I got a Rototiller for the Skidsteer, and this is a Chinese model from one of the auctions, but the price was right, so I decided to take a few hours drive further up the mountains in my area and purchase this thing because it's going to be a very light use for my wife's garden, mostly, maybe occasionally for some actual work. So here I am getting it unloaded. Loading it up, we use the seller's skid steer, and I kind of backed in under. With a pickup bed, you always got to be really careful about loading and unloading because one little wrong move, you can bash your truck bed. And you can see, I think Cricket there is the famous dog that's always in the channel. She oversees all my work here, and as you can see, I'm rolling up my tie downs. My wife kind of guilted me into that years ago, and I'm glad she did. Anyways, it keeps them a lot better. So here you can see a bucket on there. The reason the bucket's on there and that it's running and one hose is in the bucket is because it is from an auction and it is from China, so I don't trust any of the oil in it, so I'm basically flushing the oil out. I wanted to make sure that I had my oil in this implement and not anything that came from China. So again, I didn't expect this thing to be super strong, super perfect, and what I'm doing here is I'm checking where the quick attach holes go in. There's a tremendous amount of slop. So when I first hooked it up, it was kind of to one side, and had to make sure it was centered so that both of them actually engaged. So I'm kind of just double verifying that. It took me a few times. Had to unhook, rehook kind of deal, and checking the flows, checking the fittings, making sure that everything was functioning and figuring out how it works. So here's my wife's garden. We actually didn't plant it last year. We had a lot going on. It's been tilled a lot. It's been amended with compost and everything else a lot. You can see the straw there. That's from our yearly fall decorations. I always get my wife a bale of straw. We put pumpkins on it. So here's the first go at this thing. So I've never run it. Not really sure if it works better forward or backwards. So I'm just kind of learning here and trying to figure it out. And if you'll notice, once you get back here in the frame, my door is open. So I consciously thought about this, and I'm like, do I want the door closed in case this thing actually flows really fast and throws a bunch of rocks at me, or do I want it open to where I can listen to it and hear if there's any issues? So I chose the open door method to be able to hear it, and I'll adjust volumes later to make sure that you guys can hear this thing running. Here I think I'm playing with my aux settings. You can see it sped up. So I have 3 different aux settings I can use for the flow. I'm running on low flow because this thing's obviously from Chinese. I don't want to burn it up right away. And then, like I said, that open door is going to bite me here in a bit, and you'll see. And I'll show you all the failure. But with that in mind, notice where the hoses are and that they're not contained or managed in any way. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Here, I don't really remember if I got a rock there or not, but I stopped, lifted it up, made sure it was flowing. You can see dirt moving, so you know it's flowing when it's down like that. Sometimes I'll lift it up to make sure I can see it moving. Right there, I hit a rock, so I reverse it. You kick the rock out, and then you keep going. And I'm going really, really slow here. I'm trying to make sure that my travel speed is very slow to make sure it tills well. Again, all learning, trying to figure this thing out. And it's doing a pretty good job. And if you follow my channel, which I hope you do, please hit subscribe right now if you don't, or if you haven't. That'll help the channel. I'm trying really hard to get over 1,000 there and get monetized so I can get better equipment and provide better videos for you guys. So anyways, if you follow my channel, you know that we have a tremendous amount of rocks in our area. And even though the garden has been tilled, I don't know, dozens of times now, both mechanically, with tractors, ripping. I don't think I've ever actually used a tractor rototiller up until right now, but I used my Troy belt, and that's kind of why I got this thing. It's like the price was half of what the auctions go for, and people sell them on Facebook Marketplace for 2 to 3 times what they go for at auction. I can't believe people buy them, but I got this thing for about half price. So it was worth it because I'm really looking at it just for the garden, maybe occasionally, and I'll have another video where I might actually use it quite a bit. And if I can find these, I might buy a couple. But anyways, keep an eye out here. Oh! Okay. Well, that would be why. Yep, you guessed it. I pinched the hoses. So, yeah. So I'm looking at this going, all right, that's going to be a couple $100 mistake. And I was looking at those things going, all right, I got to be conscious about that, make sure I don't pinch them. Well, I pinched them. Anyways, live and learn, right? So, here's the aftermath. The oil was everywhere. Hydraulic oil stinks, so that's why the open door really sucked. And so now we're a few days later, go back down to my buddy Howard at H&S Tractor Supply, and I got new hoses. I actually got some new fittings for my excavator, which hopefully should help the flow on my mulching head. So that was kind of a good deal, but that was an expensive trip. It was only a couple hundred for this part. So now I've got them all hooked back up, and we're going to try this thing again. And I still don't have cable management, but I'm very aware now. And also I'm going to use the door shut. It took me probably, an hour to try and clean the oil off the inside of the glass because it hit the up top and, wipe it all off the monitors and stuff. It was not fun. So lesson learned, choose the glass down if you're going to be a dummy and pinch your hoses and have hydraulic oil. And if you noticed you might want to rewind, but the leak, once it pinched and I shut it down and shut the hydraulics off, it was still kind of just misting. You could see it was kind of like a mist rain. And I don't know what that was, whether it was residual pressure or something was still flowing. It had to be residual pressure, so I'm not sure. It didn't stop until I actually unplugged one of them, so that's probably what it was. So I did a little bit here, and then I decided, hey, I should probably just throw the straw out and, get it all over the place and rototill it in. So that's what I'm doing here. And it was pretty wet because the straw had been rained on, but you'll see after I fire this thing back up that this rototiller did a real good job of breaking it all up, mixing it in, and just adding some carbon to the soil. So I think this year, hopefully we'll get some more just topsoil. We've been hauling in both cow manure and horse manure. The horse manure really helped the garden the first year. Just, our soil looks real dark, but it's all blowing on top of lava cap mostly. So it's not super nutrient rich, even though it looks dark. So we're constantly adding stuff to it. And, like I said, every year I get my wife that bale of straw for decorations, and then we put it back into use in the garden. So just kind of spreading this stuff out here now. Kind of bear with me. We'll get this dialed in. So we'll speed this up here a little bit as much as I can. So you guys aren't totally bored watching me spread straw. That's not exactly the most exciting thing to watch. But yeah, I'll get this stuff all cranked out. I'm almost done here, and then we'll get back in the machine and rototill all this in. When I was doing this, I wasn't even sure how well this would do, but overall, I'm pretty impressed with this thing. And like I said, I'll have a future video where recently purchased a soil conditioner, which can be used for a lot of different things, gravel roadways, rock removal, which is one of them, which I think this implement might actually work pretty good in our area for rock removal for folks that want to kind of reclaim some fields and plant some natural grasses. So here again, I think I'm still messing with the controls, because on the Takuchis, there's only one button that will allow continuous flow. So that means one direction is continuous flow, which happens to be reverse rotation in this particular instance, which means backing up rototilling. That is continuous, it latches. And you'll notice a lot on this side of the garden, there's actually even more rocks on the other side. So I'm constantly stopping, reversing the rotation, kicking rocks out. You'll kind of see that. There was a couple big ones that were still in there. I think this thing tills a bit deeper than my Troy belt. And again, the whole reason I got this was mainly for the wife's garden, because I'm getting up there in age, and it takes me a good hour plus probably to completely rototill this with the Troy belt, because I go over it multiple times. Well, this thing, literally, if I don't pinch hoses, I think 10 minutes and I'm done. One pass and it's good to go, maybe two. I think I went through two just because I'm trying to play with this thing, and I'm learning on it. So, but like I said, I took this after this little project, if you will, here, I took it up to my other fields that I'm reclaiming, and I had used the soil conditioner to try and kick rocks off the field and provide a decent seed bed. Well, then I went back with this, and this actually leaves more of a fluffy dirt because it tills versus just barely catching the rocks and kicking them off. And you'll see that in a future video. Hopefully you will. Like I said, hit that subscribe, hit that bell button, and you'll know when I post things, and you can watch all those. So here I'm just kind of, I'm also learning that if you pile up straw and you're rototilling backwards, you can actually just kind of drag that straw with you. So you got to be conscious of that and make sure that you're kind of lifting up and making sure that you're tilling the straw in with the first little pass, and then you can go deeper. But overall, like I said, this thing worked really, really well. It's just a matter of how long it's going to last. And I've already noticed, because I've hit some pretty big rocks. I don't think it happens so much here in the garden, but up in the fields, some of the tines already, I mean, they're 1/4 inch thick, but they're Chinesium. So those tines have already bent. But like I said, I knew what I had going in, and the deal was right. You know, it was literally half of what they go for at auction. And even though it was a few hours away, the auction is a few hours away, so I figured half price, I'm still saving half the cost. And the auctions also have, I think, a 10% sales fee on top of that. So it's like you're paying tax and the fee, so I'm probably really less than half the cost of what it would go for at an auction, and also the time involved to go get it. But it's doing pretty good. For this application, for just pure tilling, backwards seems to be what I'd prefer so far, with the very limited use that I've had. In the application that I'm speaking of in terms of commercially or, you know, selling my rental services, operator and equipment rental, I think forward is the better path, because then you're pushing, for the application it'd be to clear rocks from fields. And for that, you can actually see the rocks come out in front of you, and you're windrowing them basically to one end of a field. So I think the forward forward direction is better for that application, for trying to clear rocks of fields. But for pure tilling for gardens or, you know, soil prep or whatever, if there's not a lot of rocks, reverse seems to be the good way, because then you're not leaving your tracks or anything. So again, just making sure I've got all this straw rototilled in. I think I'll do this side, and then I'll make one more pass there on the right, because I didn't get quite close to the fence. I didn't get all that straw. So I think this is probably a good 5-6 inches deep at least, maybe more. And it's a lot easier on my back just pulling levers versus wrestling that Troy belt around. So if anybody's looking for a very old but very useful Troy belt 8 horsepower rototiller, I think I'm going to sell that. I don't really have a use for it now. And like I said, these things aren't too expensive, so, you know, if this one breaks or fails, you know, you can't really find parts for it, so it goes to the scrap heap for metal, and I find another one. Fortunately, it's the disposal society we're in. And if it works really well, who knows, I might buy an American-made one that lasts. You know, obviously they're going to be probably 4 to 6 times more expensive, but they do last. So if you're going to end up buying 3 or 4 of these things, then, you know, that's the point where if it works for the other application, I might just look that way. And again, rocks. But that's the great thing about having a Skidsteer attachment and being able to reverse the flow. You hit a rock and you just reverse the flow, and it clears it out. You're not getting out and trying to pull this thing out. You see, when I was rotating forward, if you will, that this thing throws that stuff out there really good, and that's what I would be using for the other application, is to actually slow it down a little bit more than just pure rototilling, because all I want to do is expose the rocks and get the rocks out in front of me. I don't want to throw them 20 feet, because then they go off to the side, and then I got to go back and clear that side. If I can just cruise down a field and just kick these rocks up in front and keep them mostly in front of the tiller and the equipment, then I can windrow them all the way to the end, and then you can either pick them up, bury them, I don't know, put them in a pile, whatever you want, and you're left with a pretty decent field with a lot less rocks. Yeah, our area, you're never going to get completely rid of the rocks, but if you can get rid of enough of the big rocks to where you can plant a seed bed with natural grasses, and then you can mow it with a brush mower or something, then you've got something that's maintainable and fire safe. So yeah, it's working out pretty good. As I'm editing, I have my dogs trying to come up and play with me here, so if I get a little distracted, that might be why you hear a little pause. So here I kind of turned around and I made sure I got the section of the garden that I couldn't back up to. The other thing, I don't have a bumper on this yet. I've got plans to build a bumper on this because I do not want to smash up the brand new back end of this TL12. Too much of an investment to back into trees and things. But yeah, overall, pretty darn happy with this thing. And the application for clearing fields of rocks was just something I didn't foresee with this. I actually thought about it with the soil conditioner, but I think the soil conditioner's main use is going to be revitalizing of gravel roads versus the clearing of rocks. I think this thing's actually going to be a better application for it. And the soil conditioner, we got some videos coming out on that pretty soon too, so keep watching, keep an eye out. I've got some test gravel jobs coming up, giving some friends some pretty good deals, just so I can make sure I have a good experience before I start actually going out and securing rental jobs where I'm renting myself and the equipment to prep and revitalize driveways. There's a lot of other good videos out there. If you watch VT Outdoor Services, give a shout out to him. He does a lot of gravel repair back east. I think he's in Vermont or Maine, and that's how I kind of got the idea for the soil conditioner, because nobody really uses them out here on the West Coast. So that will be for gravel roads and revitalization of that, and then the others, this will maybe be for clearing rocks and fields. And I apologize, I don't know why this is not really doing much work here. Okay, as I'm editing this, I'm doing it on my phone because I am not monetized yet, and I don't have really good equipment, and I don't do this on my computer. I had a frozen screen, so I thought nothing was going on with the equipment, but it was while I was talking, so that was what that was. But here I'm just finishing up the far end, and then I think we're going to close this video out with a little bit of slow-mo, which is kind of cool. And you'll see this thing in action that way. So we'll speed up this last little section here because it seemed like it was going kind of slow. And we'll get to the point where we do the slow-mo. It's funny, speed it up, slow it down. Crazy. Anyways, yeah, the trick with this, when you're just rototilling, really slow travel speed is good. Lets that thing work the soil. So if you go too fast, you can actually drag a bunch of stuff, and you're not really tilling, you're just kind of moving the dirt. So we're just about done with that. All right, so a little slow-mo just coming at you live in the front. Watch this thing kick, look at that. Kind of neat. And I don't even remember doing it in slow-mo. Maybe I did. But this shows you how it kicks everything out the front. So imagine if I'm clearing rocks from field, I'll be in a slow travel speed and a slow rotation speed, trying to just walk those rocks out in front of me. So, and then we go back to normal speed for some reason. Again, camera, my phone, not sure why that happened, but appreciate you guys watching. I hope this was interesting or fun, or both. And anyways, yeah, I'm overall pretty happy with the purchase based on the price point, and I'm happy with the implement based on the price point. And we'll see how long she lasts, and if I end up going with an American-made one of these if I utilize it for, you know, more of an income use when I rent my operator and when I rent myself and my equipment. And if so, we'll get the something that's going to last longer. But for right now, this thing's doing pretty good, and like I said, I'm just real happy with it. So appreciate you guys watching. Hope you hit that subscribe button, that like button, that share button. Tell your friends about this channel. I'm trying to grow it, trying to make it interesting and fun for people. So anyways, have a great day. Bye.